All right, guys, how you doing today? Welcome to another segment of the Next Evolution in Athletics interview series. Today I got former cap of the Calgary Dinos, Ryan Littlewood. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I don't like that.
Former cap?
I mean, true, but hi, I'm fantastic.
Yeah, man.
I'm bored. That's how I am.
Yeah, you and everyone else at this point.
Yeah.
How's everything been going? You okay?
Oh yeah. I'm doing good. I'm optimistic. Let's put it that way.
Optimistic?
Optimistic. That's the
Doing
way.
better than a lot of people.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. Be
Yeah.
optimistic about everything coming up, uh, and everything we just had to endure for the last year. But hopefully it'll just
Yep.
go up from here.
This is going to make some gritty people, that's for sure. So, what I figure we'll do with you, Littlewood, is we'll talk a little bit about how you got into rugby, all that stuff, um, how you found the last year, and how do you think it's going to go forward in the future, the team culture, and just kind of take it where it goes. Is that cool with you?
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool, brother.
My rugby story is a little different. I started back home in Tawasin when I think I was in grade 7, and I had a friend who played football and rugby growing up, and he told me to come play football, and so I did. I tried like our community team. I had some fun. It was great, and then he told me, "Okay, come play rugby with me." So I went to this little club that was like 15 minutes down from my house called the Brit Lions and started playing there with him. And I loved it. And I found rugby a lot more fun than football. But I actually played both sports until grade 12.
Oh, wow.
I'd play football and rugby together from grade 8 to grade 12. And then went from that club which was in Delta, which was the town that I was from in Vancouver. And then I went to Surrey and played for the Bayside Sharks and loved that. And that was really fun. And that was like my later high school years. And I met a couple of the guys that I played with on the Dinos. We all played Bayside together.
Oh, wow.
We've like me and Sean
Yeah.
and Nick, we've known each other since we were high school rivals, actually.
Oh,
So me and Sean used to pick on each other and hate each other.
your
During
best buds.
Yeah, like I think I had yellow cleats for one game, and I remember hearing I've got the kid in the yellow cleats, and I looked up and it was Sean. So call each other out and everything. It was great. And then we started playing on the same team. We played rep rugby together, and then we all came to uni. I obviously quit football. None of us played rugby in our first year. I don't really remember why. Kind of wish I did because it was the worst academic year I've ever had in my life.
Biggest party year, though, eh?
Oh yeah, it met a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll
We'll
bet.
skip out on the first year, but just keep a positive GPA.
Yeah.
To anybody listening. Um, and then Sean and Nick, I think, went to the rookie practice that year, which was what the Dinos do, where it's the captain and the coach, or like all the coaches, and then maybe like a couple of like the leaders on the team will come, and then it's just rookies, and you basically just let the rookies mingle and meet each other. I think Sean and Nick went to that the first year. I didn't go because I was probably doing something I shouldn't mention on a podcast. And then the following year, like so they didn't end up playing, and then the following year they did the same thing. I didn't go to the rookie practice, but Sean told me, look, man, they're looking for a prop. Just come out and play. It's a good group of guys. Like just come have fun. So I went to the first practice, met Ray, came to the second practice, got told, okay, we're going to Edmonton. You're on the team. You're coming. Started that game as a prop, which we ended up, I think we won that year. I'm pretty sure because it was the Brown Jug game, so it was like a big game. Dino lost his mind because we won it. And then, yeah, since then we've just been playing, and I've rotated between like every single forward position except second row. which I told Ray I will never play, and he said, "Good, I don't want you there."
That's a good spot, I guess. So you played for the Dinos for 3 years?
4 years, I think. 5-year degree.
Yeah. You took the scenic road, eh?
I took a victory lap for
Yeah,
sure.
attaboy. I get it. Um, how did you find the team from like your first year to your final year? How did you find the team kind of like progressed and grew and like what you thought of it?
It changed a lot. Like it was really weird because like everybody knows that rugby is like a obviously it's a pretty big like party culture. And obviously rugby in Canada isn't like a youth sports recognized sport. There's no nationals, anything like that. Yeah, I know, right? Fuck those guys. They're working on it though.
Yep.
Um, so like there was none of that. So it was kind of just like we'd play. I think the first year, like Lethbridge was good. Lethbridge was actually really good. Um, but like my first year, we played MRU, Lethbridge, U of A, us, and UBCO. It was just the five of us.
Okay.
Um, and it was, I think the winner of Can West would go to Kelowna to play for the Heinzen Cup. And that was how it always worked. But I remember like my first year, like the culture was completely different. Like it was a lot of like, partying and what you would imagine rugby to be like, but it was not, I think, the vision for what it wanted it to be. Like I remember we had, I think it was like a rookie party before we played UBCO on our own home field. And I think we lost like 40 rip. And that practice after was like, it was horrifying. That Ray bagged us, and we rightfully so, like we earned it. But every year after that, it kind of like you'd see a culture change more towards like serious rugby. And it was good. Like I think it was Mitch was the captain after that year. And Mitch was a really good captain because he led by example. Like he wasn't some flashy guy, but he was the guy where like when you watched game footage back, you would hear Mitch doing exactly what I said Sean did, where it was I've got the kid in the yellow cleats. It would be Mitch off a line out screaming like, I've got the 9 or I've got the 10. And I remember this clearly because we watched the footage back. You can hear the air leaving the 10's lungs when Mitch hit him. Like it was, and I'm not even kidding. Like, in football, when you hear like a massive hit and you hear the pads hit, that was what you heard, but there's no pads in rugby. Mitch just massacred the kid. Like it was insane. And like, he was kind of like, you look up at that and you respect that. And you're like, wow, like he might not say like arousing speeches or be some flashy guy who's scoring like behind the back pass tries or whatever, but he will massacre anybody that runs at him.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And that was kind of like what we grew into. And then from then on, it started getting more and more serious, like practices more serious. Our vision became more serious. The way we were conducting like scouting and stuff like that, like it had never occurred to me. And that was the year that I became part of the executive. Like I think I was the logistics manager or something like that. Like I booked all the buses and did the hotels and stuff like that. And that was the first year that I got insight into the internal operatings of a team, which was, it was crazy to see what actually went in and went on behind it. And it was a lot. Like there was a lot of thought from Ray, especially, that went into where are we going to be in 5 years kind of thing. And then we added Jake as our fitness trainer and our fitness coach and stuff like that. And then we added you the next year. And that kind of like, keeps bumping it up into the more and more seriousness that it's become. But the biggest thing from like, obviously when I had my captaincy, my ex-captaincy, which I hold so in my heart. Honestly, the biggest thing was like the whole family culture. Like me and Ray talked about it, and we talked about how like we wanted it to move forward as a family. Like this is our rugby community. We're known as that. So we need to conduct ourselves as that, but we also needed to create like our family environment and show how important it was that like, this is your team, this is your family, these are your brothers. If you're willing to like lay your body on the line in the game, you should be able to call up any one of these people at any point in time during the day. And if you need something, if you want to hang out, whatever you want to do, you should be able to do it. So that was kind of like the culture that we tried to create and foster together. And I think it worked really well. It stemmed from, I remember hearing, I think it was like the Richie McCaw movie. For anybody watching who doesn't know who that is, that's like one of the greatest All Blacks of all time.
Of all time. Yeah, no question.
And he like one of the greatest captains ever. He was a quiet guy, but he led by example. He led by playing. And the All Blacks had a motto of no dickheads. And it was basically like, your team needs to be a family, and it needs to be a healthy family. And a dickhead is like a cancer. And you can't tolerate that because it spreads and it infects everything else. So that was like our biggest thing, was if there was a problem, you address it. There's no more of this, letting it fly under the radar, let it grow. Like, this is a family. This is how we do it. So it was even reflected when like we did end of practice huddles. There was no more guys standing in front of each other or anything. It was one big circle. Everybody joins arms, because no person should be in front of anybody else. Like, that's how you talk to people, is face to face. So even in games, everybody's standing shoulder to shoulder. Nobody's in front, nobody's behind. And that was what we tried to build. I'd say it worked pretty well, but obviously I have a biased perspective. I had a lot of help though. Like, obviously you and with me and Ray creating kind of like a closer relationship of being able to talk to each other on the same level. Like, if I did something stupid, he called me out. He was the first person to tell me to shut up. And I'm a very loud person. I like to make little sly comments. And he'd be the first person to be like, dude, not the time, not the place. And it created like the respect between us. And then having like my guys, like Matt Curran, Sean, Gino, like those were like my Dave. They were my core guys that, like, if I needed help or if there was a problem or anything, like, those would be the guys that came to me. And I think it was really important that guys respected everybody, but also respected, like, look, if one of these guys says something, it's like an extension of me. Like, you need to turn your ears on and listen to the guys who are trying to help you out. Because I'm not saying that everything was perfect. Like, we ran into some troubles. We had problems, but we did address them as quick as we could. And I think we addressed them really well, because obviously it reflected it in our record. Like, the year before me, it was the first year we won back the Heinzen. Our year, we won it in a nail biter at the very end when we were down, thanks to Quinn Hawk, who will forever be my biggest rival at UBC. But, like, it was the last play of the game. And I think it was like 20, they were up like 20 something on us. And we won a penalty in a scrum, thanks to Hinch and Matt. Yep. I will take zero credit for anything that happened in that scrum. That was us teaching a massive man how to finally scrum, which he learned. And Matt just being Matt, right? Like, we had a power team. It was great. And we got to the line out, and we had a lot of creative freedom, I'd say, in creating our line out calls. It was kind of just us being like, what would work and what's a funny name? So that was a lot. Like, we had cowboy, reverse cowgirl, smoke. Like, we made stupid names. And it was like me, Sean, Dave, and Nat seeing what was funny. And we're walking up to the line, and it was like that penalty was the last play of the game. So, like, we kicked the ball out. We had a line out, and me and Sean were walking up, and we were like, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do? How do we do this? Because it was like we were lost. We were going to lose if we didn't make this happen. So we looked at each other and we were like, smoke. Okay, let's do it. And it's basically just like a dummy play where if I mess up the throw, game's over. If Sean knocks the ball on, game's over. And if we mess up at all, the game's over. And all it is throwing it right to Sean, right on the ground, making sure the ball goes 5 and making sure it goes straight. Throw the ball in, Sean gets it. Matt's grabbing onto him, just pushing him forward as far as he can. Sean starts going towards the sideline. So in my head, I'm like, oh, shit. I run into Sean to keep him in.
Yeah.
Chip the ball out, and I think it was, we're all lying on the ground. I'm like the last one to get up, start kind of jogging over. Sean and Matt are already like way over there. The ball gets to Nolan, and we see that Hancock's on the wing, and he's got a bunch of space. And we're all thinking is, pass the ball. Please pass the ball. Pitches it off to Hancock, and he scores right in the corner.
Perfect.
And you're all like, oh, my God. And then it was Winley lines up to take the kick. And it was like for anybody that knows rugby, like it was a sideline kick.
Oh.
Like you gotta be good to do that. Josh kicks it and banks it off the post and in. And I didn't watch. I stood the other way. I couldn't watch. I told Sean, tell me what happens. Because like we'd already won, but I was like, oh my God, this is just too hilarious to watch. So I turned the other way, and all of a sudden it's like you hear the crowd erupt, and then I hear the whistle, and I just fell over. He pulled that off. But it was things like that, like that's the point where you're down and out, your back's against the wall, but because you trust every single person on your team, because we had starters, backups, people injured, like everything like that. Like it's a full 23-man team. That's all that mattered is like if your number is 1 through 23, you are part of this game and you are playing a role in it no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 75 minutes, right? Like it was such a big deal. And that was like the high point for us for sure. And then winning Can West obviously was that was a big point for the team because I don't even know if we're still on topic here, but who cares? When we went, like I was saying, the first 5 teams, it had evolved since then to where in our last year, the University of Regina and the University of Saskatchewan were actually in our league. So it was expanding. So we had like our Prairie League. Mm-hmm. We went out to play them, U of S and U of R, and we trumped U of R. I think it was like 70-something nothing or 70-something to 7. Like it was a good game, but it was a good game for us, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was sunny. It was like 15 degrees. It was really nice. Next day, it is -10, snowing sideways, and the field was frozen. Yeah. Like it was awful. We hadn't lost a regular season game in a very long time, and we lost that game.
4 or 5 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I had that riding on me. I didn't really know what to do. I was sitting in the locker room after the game. Everybody had gone, and I kind of just sat on the bench. And me and Ray were in the room together, and we were like, fuck. That was unexpected.
Any of that game?
Harry.
Yes, Harry did. Yeah.
Harry was like frozen to the point of having to get off the field and get inside the clubhouse. And he was bummed. Like Harry's a guy who played with a lot of passion and a lot of emotion, which you got to respect, but he was bummed to, be sidelined by something like that. But yeah, we lost our scrums. We lost our lineouts. We weren't playing well. We didn't just lose our scrums. Like we got pushed off our own scrums. We got demolished.
Common for you boys.
Yeah, that was a wake-up call too. And then for Can West, we ended up playing U of S because we didn't actually get the top of our pool. UBCO did because we lost that game.
Yeah.
And we played U of S, and I remember going into that thinking we're not going to lose a single scrum. And they were big boys. It's Sask. Like they're large human beings. They grow big out there.
Yep. Boy.
And I remember packing down, which is like, getting down into a scrum. And they were looking at us and they're being like, you ready to be reminded of last time? And me, Hinch, and Matt all looked at each other and we looked at everybody behind us. And then we just started smirking. As we're crouching down, we were like, you're fucked. As soon as we go in, they just crumple.
Yeah.
And, not dirty things, but it was like we were trying to get on top of them. So I made sure that like I was on top of the other hooker and his face went right into the frozen ground. And when we got up, the ref kind of looked at us and was like, okay, you guys lost your footing. We're going to do that again. And we looked at them and we were like, you're going to lose your footing again? I'm pretty sure it was their ball and we won it. Like we murdered every single scrum, every line out. That game was perfection. But that was like the whole. We had a bit of a chip on our shoulder after that one.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and that one was fun.
Yeah, that was when I heard about how well you guys did, because that was when you guys were out in where'd you guys play that game? It was
Oh, that was a home game. That was on our field.
was that the home game or was oh I'm
Yeah,
thinking yeah. No, that was the home tournament. That was that was a funny game. Because I
yeah.
think at one point in time, I don't know if it was Sask or was it UBCO, where it was like the 73rd minute and you guys are lining up for a scrum. And I remember looking at you and you, Hinchy, and Curran were all like laughing and joking going into the scrum. And I looked at, I think it was UBCO, and the whole scrum was like almost on a knee
Yeah.
or two hands on the knees. And you guys were like, oh, yeah, looking a beer after the game. And that's when I knew this game was done. Like there was just no way they didn't have anything left in them. And I was just laughing because I think Erin was standing beside me. She goes, they're going to take this. I'm like, I said, not only going to take this, they're going to ruin this scrum. I said, it's going to be ugly. And man, you just walked over them. And that's when after Dave, we were down by Dave, weren't we? That was a 10-man scrum. And they were, no. It was either that or the scrum before. That you guys were down by a guy. And I think that was the only scrum they almost kind of balanced out.
Yeah, somebody had a card, didn't they, or something?
I think it was Dave.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I remember that.
And like that was there was like one scrum where they like you guys still won, but you had to actually try versus that scrum where you had full squad
Yeah,
and you just walked over them. And I was like, yeah, this game's done. That's when I knew it was over.
yeah, that was a good one. But like it did evolve a lot to get to that point. Like we put in a
Oh
lot
yeah.
because the one thing I noticed too was that like the guys got a lot smaller. Like we had a lot bigger guys when I joined my first year, but like the guys got stronger as we went in, but we got smaller. Like we didn't have any backs where it's like, you've got 6'3", 6'4", 240-pound centers.
Yeah.
Instead, now you have Nolan, who's, I don't know, 5'11", but
Buck 85.
yeah, but runs like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows how. Exactly. Like it was a lot, but that was our team effort where we were like, wow, that took all of us. And that was like a big moment for us. That was cool. But yeah, that's kind of how 4 years changed. It changed a lot. It was,
And it's interesting because when I always talk to people like on team culture and stuff, it's all I always ask like when you guys when a team goes through something like this, what do you think was the catalyst for that change? Like what was that light switch moment where you guys said, this isn't working, we got to do something different?
yeah, it was that, like, because going into the season, like I said, like we had me and Ray had talked, like, no dickheads, all that kind of stuff, where it was, we want a really good culture. We want to like establish Dino's rugby as dominant, but also like a place that people want to play. So like, you've got kids in Edmonton, kids in like wherever else, BC, because you've got UBC, UVic, and now Trinity Western, right? Like you've got a lot of good schools there, but like, how do we make it so we pull kids as opposed to them pulling kids from us?
Yeah.
And like one of the big things is culture, because like, people will go to a good culture. Like you don't want to play for a toxic team.
No.
Or toxic players, toxic coaches, whatever it is, you don't want to be involved in that. And I'd say that was like one of our biggest things. But losing that game, because that was our first weekend of games, losing that game, and it was the same weekend as city finals for rugby, for club rugby. So we were missing Nolan, Gino,
Oh yeah,
Dino.
I forgot about that.
Like I was supposed to be there, but obviously I made a choice to go with my team to Regina, because that's what I wanted to do personally. Was I'm the captain. Like this is my team. This is my year. I want to leave my mark. So I'm obviously going to do that. But like we were missing like a handful of guys, but I'm not going to blame it on that. I'm going to say that was our wake up call to the point of, okay, guys need to be interchangeable and we need to pick it up because we're no longer going to get the cakewalk. Like if UBCO goes undefeated, which they did, and they get a bonus point, we can't catch them. Because the rest of the season, we went undefeated and we got a bonus point in most games, if not all games. But because UBCO got a bonus point, we couldn't catch them. So they were 1, we were 2. So we had to play 3 and they got to play 4. Right? So we knew that like we're now fighting an uphill battle, which we put ourselves in, and we've never been in this position before in the regular season. So that was where we got the chip on our shoulder, and that was where it was no excuses, no bullshit, own up to your mistakes, and play for the rest of the season. That was our turning moment because it was, we were sitting in there lost for words. Like Ray and I were just sitting in the locker room, just kind of back against the wall, covered in mud, freezing, kind of looking at each other like, how do we fix this? And then the icing on the cake was the trip home. There was a snowstorm in Calgary.
Yeah, I remember this trip.
But we had to book a hotel in Medhad. And it was kind of nice because the guys got to not relax, obviously, but like, there was a pool. So we do a whirlpool everywhere we go. Everybody's running around in a circle and stuff. You turn into a little kid.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it's just a game, right? Like and that's what you need to realize when you're playing stuff like that. And for Ray being a coach and for me being in a position of leadership, we lost this game. Guys are heartbroken because, we are now the guys who lost that game.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's going to be there. And, how do you bounce back from that? And obviously I was so disappointed in myself. I didn't think I played well, anything like that. Like I was right pissed. And it kind of took Ray, like giving me a nudge and being like, don't worry, we'll get it back. When we were sitting in that room to being like, okay, like, how do we go on? Cause like I had guys apologizing to me and stuff. I was like, don't ever apologize for this. Like we played, we did what we could do. But we came up short this time. But the key is this time. Next time, we won't make the same mistake. And it sucked. Like, it was hard. Like, obviously, I wanted to, like, punch a wall, throw a tantrum, fucking do everything that you normally do when you lose.
Yeah.
But when you're that position on a team, you can't, right?
You don't get that opportunity.
You got to rise above it, and you got to take that opportunity, right? So,
yeah. So, now that you've had like essentially a year off, okay?
Yeah.
It's been a gong show. How do you think the team comes back from the previous year to now going into next year? You pretty much had a whole year off.
Yeah.
What do you think the struggles and adversities we're going to run into for next season are? Because it's a different world altogether now.
Yeah, like it's going to be weird. Obviously, like guys have lost interest kind of, right? Like there's a lot of people who were a part of the team that have been established on the team for years who were part of joined a year after me. So they've still got time and everything like that. But those new guys, getting them hooked, and for Josh, the current captain, fostering that culture online is really hard. Because we had the Facebook group chat during the season. It was 70 something odd guys, right? And you've got guys every day going, hey, I'm in TFTL. Hey, I'm at Brew. Hey, I'm at Fuel for Gold. Who wants to come hang out? And you'd have, 10 guys. We had a really, I'd say, a good relationship with the girls team, our counterpart team at the university, where if we were at Brew and Blends, you'd see guys sitting with the girls studying. You'd have 4 tables of rugby players. So you'd have 25 people just sitting there studying, laughing, talking. It was really good. But getting back to that and making people remember that the social aspect is just as important as the whole playing aspect.
Yeah.
is going to be really important. Like, because that was what a lot of it was. Is like it's your social network. It's your mental health support. It's everything. Like you've got. I made it very clear like to learn every single rookie's name and make them know that like yes, you're a rookie, whatever. We don't treat you like shit. It's not like we're gonna do something stupid to you. We're not gonna do any of that. Like you're a new player on the team. And you'll rise up through the ranks throughout the years, but this is where you start. But making them know that, like, if you have a problem, if it's school related, if you are in a certain course, I almost guarantee that one of the 70 guys on our team has taken it. They will give you notes. They will help you study. They will do whatever. Like we've got business kids, math kids, science kids, computer kids, engineers, like everything that you need is on the team. Just don't be scared to ask. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing going forward for Josh and whoever follows Josh to bring back is like that. We play to win, but we also play for each other. And this is your family. That whole mentality of no dickheads, stick out for your teammates kind of thing needs to make a comeback as soon as obviously team sports make a comeback.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting, I think, going forward because all team sports have their own culture, and rugby is no different. But rugby, I think, is a really kind of a different culture than a lot of other sports. Like,
Yes.
especially for you guys are such an interesting culture. Like, I've worked with sports teams before, and you guys are by far the most interesting one because you do have that motto of like no dickheads, and you do actually follow through with it, and you have a work ethic, and you aren't afraid to call everyone out, and you're not being critical of an individual. It's like, hey man, you're slacking, buck up. And generally the person whoever's being called out goes, yeah, I'm being used.
Yeah. It's
So the ego is almost non-existent on that team, and that's super important
yeah.
for not only a team to be successful, I think, but for the future of that team, because it takes a while to foster and grow that culture, and a year, God forbid, 2 years off of that could
Yeah.
be like a 5-year reset for some teams.
Yeah, like I think one of the biggest things was it was that like you and like our trainer Mel. I remember her saying when we were in Kelowna, she was like, "This has been one of the most fun years I've had with Dinos. Like this culture, this team, everything that you guys have done. Like this is something really special that you guys have put together." And that was a big compliment. And like the whole accountability and no ego thing. Like yes, I was the captain and stuff like that, but like you remember our morning workouts, how you put in that accountability system where it was, 100 burpees and you've got 4 people to a team. So everybody does 25.
Yep.
But if one person doesn't show up on your team who said they were coming, you still have to do 100. It's just 33 instead of 25 each, right?
Yeah.
I remember I missed one workout.
Yep.
That whole time. And I remember waking up and I don't remember why I slept through it, but the workouts were at 6:30, right? Something like that.
Something like that. 6:30. I think it was 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 to 7:30.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
I woke up at like 7:15 or 7 or something. Yeah. So like dawn, missed the workout, whatever.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I texted you on that one.
You texted me and I called you as soon as I woke up. I was like,
yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
You were like, don't worry, but I guarantee you will never live this down. I get up, I get changed, and we all met for breakfast at Fuel for Gold after every single workout. So everybody that would come, usually you get 15 guys show up, you get 10 going for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I show up, and I think it was Kian was the first one to give me shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I deserve that. But it's funny though, because normally in the years prior, if you missed a workout, you kind of felt bad and people would call you out, but you just brush it off. But that year was something different. It was like you miss a workout. Like I remember Shay would have his car die or something would happen and he would still get there. Like I remember he took the bus because his car was dead and he showed up 10 minutes late. Yeah. And we were like, what happened, dude? And he was like, my car died. And it was, last winter, it was minus 25 in the mornings.
For February, all of February.
Guys were still getting there because they were like, well, I signed my name up. And like that helped us. Like that created something special. And like all the guys that would show up in those morning workouts, it was really bizarre because you would get vets like me and guys of power and positional power and stuff. Like they would show up and other guys who were vets wouldn't show up. And then you'd get random rookies who, like, it's not like they were starting. Like maybe they cracked the black squad on the bench, or maybe they were a starter on the red squad, but they showed up and they came. And Monday workouts at Trek, we'd get, 20 guys.
Yeah, 20, 25 wasn't on
Five guys, and it was a random, obscure, like, showing of guys, but it showed that, like, nobody was afraid to train with bigger, like, big dogs. Like, Hinch was there. We had rookies who Hinch literally could have eaten.
Probably. Shea, too.
Yeah, and they were there, and then you get guys who didn't really know what they were doing with rugby. Like, maybe it was their first year, or they were scared because it was university or whatever. They would still show up, which was, like, kind of reflects the, like, there's no ego on this culture. You're playing for your team, and you want to get better for everybody else, but also for yourself, right? Like, it was these rookies being like, I'm going to be somewhere here where I want to be. Like, I remember Jack. I never expected anything to come out of Jack, and if he's listening to this, I'm sorry. But I saw Jack, and he was a second row, and he was like a buck 80.
If that, yeah.
Right? Like, but his work ethic was crazy. Like, he worked like a goddamn horse.
Yep.
And he showed up to like almost every single workout, every single training. But the funny thing was that he was holding other guys accountable.
Yep.
And he was a rookie. And that was like one of the coolest things ever to me, because I was like, oh shit. Like, rookies feel comfortable and confident. Like, it's one thing to be a rookie and just play and show your face and get out there, but it's another to like show guys like me and guys like Sean and Matt, like, I don't just want to be on this team, I want to be part of it. And there's like a big difference between those two.
Yeah. I think one of the most interesting things I remember from those, like, a little accountability workouts I created, was that there was one day I created them the night before, and I did not change them when people canceled after a certain time.
I remember that.
That's what it is. This is the cutoff. That's what it was. So there was one day where I think it was a group of 4. I don't know if it was burpees or whatever I had. It was probably push-ups or sit-ups. But there was one day, a group of 4, one person showed up in that group of 4.
I think it was Kian was the only one that showed up.
I think it was Kian that was the only one that showed up.
Yeah.
Everyone on that team took reps. Now, Kian, I think, still did every bloody rep.
Yeah, I remember that. He wouldn't let us help him.
But every single person on that team took reps.
Yeah, I remember
that speaks volumes to a team culture, because maybe it was burpees. Because if it is burpees, doing 100 burpees alone is brutal. But doing 100 burpees with a team or your friends is doable. But to do your, say, of your team of 4, to do your 25 burpees and say, I'll do 15 more burpees, man.
Yeah.
Kean still did them. I'm pretty sure it was Kean.
Yeah.
But for everyone
who's crazy enough to do that.
Yeah, he is. That'll be the first to say he is the only one crazy enough to do that. But that speaks volume to a culture, because it's that culture of look to the left, look to the right. You can trust whoever's around you.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand. Like, I worked with a bunch of hockey guys, and over the off season, like, these guys played on the same team. Sometimes they played on opposing teams, but in the summer they would do the same thing. And that's a super difficult thing to foster. And then, like, not even for a coach to tell you, for literally just the guys on the team to go, yeah, I'll do them, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Like, I remember it was, those morning workouts really created something else. Like, I remember,
Duncan's a gem.
Duncan was the perfect example of a rookie who really bought into that culture. Like, he was, what was it? We did the first ever Dino's karaoke on.
That would have been a gem. That would have been a time.
Yeah, it was on the bus ride to Regina.
Yeah.
And that was for the two series of games. And I just had the idea, and I told Ray, like, let's just not make it like, we don't have to make it a rookie thing, but I think it would be hilarious if we just, like, open the mic up and let guys
Go.
like, let's do it, and we'll vote as a team. Like, no recordings, no phones, and like there's probably one or two recordings bouncing around out there, but it wasn't like some mass
No.
Snapchat thing. Like, we just did it to have a little bit of fun.
Like
And
Dino's American
doing,
Idol.
we had enough guys where it was like we did like voting and rounds and stuff. I think Ray sang I think he sang Let It Go from Frozen.
Oh,
Like
wow.
that. Like, we made a point of like, if we're doing this, Ray, you have to sing.
That would have been
And it was for my sick, twisted enjoyment. But Duncan, I think, sang Beyonce.
single.
Something like he killed it. He killed it. Like the twins, the McConnell twins did I think it was like Nicki Minaj, like Super Bass or something. Like, we had the most random stuff ever. But it was so cool because like usually it's you force rookies to do it and you get the rookies to do it. Like, I'm pretty sure like it was not just rookies who did this.
Yeah.
But we had stuff like that. Like, Gino loves to freestyle. So Gino would always freestyle all the time. Like, rap. It was hilarious. But it was like that thing of like, this is a family, plus we're stuck on a bus for 7 hours. So
I think that's important to see that, like, like I'm pretty sure, like, we both read the book Legacy,
yeah.
and that is without question probably the best team culture book I've ever read, no question. And it's funny to see the similarities that you guys did. It's not like I actually went out and bought like 3 copies and I gave it to the team, and I just said, guys, you got to read this book. It's hands down one of the best books I've ever read about team culture. But you guys do so many things that the All Blacks did unknowingly. Like, you created that no one is better than anybody else. There's no dickheads. Like, you created those rules to govern by without ever really sitting down and, as a team, and establishing it. It just kind of happened naturally and organically, which is pretty uncommon.
Like, it was good. Like, it was a lot of the group of guys that we had. It was the opportunities that we had. Like, it was crazy to see, and to see a lot of guys evolve throughout that was good. And I'm really hoping that those guys, because obviously I've been, like you said, like, this was my year gone, and like, I'm still in school, so I might, who knows,
Victory lap.
if things are back in September and just play some kind of role in the team. But it's crazy to see how much like it mattered to guys, because you don't really think about it. Like, I've played rugby for a while now, and like one of the biggest things is like like you were saying, rugby's different. Like, rugby culture is different, and I find that it's weird. You don't really respect anybody because respect is earned in rugby. Everybody, like, you can be a respectful person, and like I respect everybody to a degree, but it's
a
earned.
different level.
You have to earn that level of respect.
Yeah.
Like, playing with, again, like Sean and Matt, I've played with those guys for 4 years. That's like a next level. Like, I saw that. Like, Jack, after seeing how hard he worked, and I'm pretty sure it was him who took like a knee to the face in Regina when we were there.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, because he had this, like, his eye was like swollen.
Yeah, his eye. Yeah, I remember he came back and it was like.
And like seeing that was the first, like, one of the first moments where I was like, holy fuck, this guy's got balls. Like, seeing things like that. And that's a funny thing too, because like, UBCO, that's our rival. I don't like them, but there's a lot of guys on that team who, like, I played with, because you play the same guys over and over. There's a lot of guys on that team who, like, I learned to respect, and I've seen them. Like, I've seen them in Stampede Sevens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've had opportunities to talk where it's like we're like friends now.
Yeah.
Because you get that opportunity to earn each other's respect. Because if somebody goes out on the field, plays cleanly, and beats the living shit out of me, you have 100% earned that level of respect with me.
Yeah.
If you go out,
yeah,
and like you're taking cards, you're taking cheap shots, you're a sore winner, all that kind of crap, like, there's no reason for somebody to earn that respect. And that's one of the biggest things I find with rugby, because like you do the handshake after the game, you do all that. I could cheap shot somebody and get a red card, and I could shake their hand at the end and apologize to them, and they could be like, dude, don't sweat it. You just owe me a beer. And you go to the clubhouse and you buy them a beer, and you're talking about each other's lives, what classes you're taking, everything like that, right? Like it's such a different culture, but it's because you have to earn it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you earn that level of respect and that level of camaraderie just from playing and by stepping on the field with some of these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely a sport that respect is earned and not given.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah,
it's not uncommon for me to see like solid players in whatever sport they're playing with big egos.
Yeah.
And like I've played against them in other sports too, you know, and you're just like, oh, God, I hate that guy. Exactly. But the only reason why you hate that guy isn't because he's like a good athlete. It's because he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Like
I remember when we played UVic. Like UVic was they're crazy. And you know, like since I grew up in BC, like playing UVic and UBC, I have friends on those teams. So I see guys that I know, and there's guys that know me and stuff. But like I remember doing the coin toss, and James O'Neill was the captain of UVic, and he is in my mind, he's a phenomenal player and a phenomenal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice guy, well spoken, scary as shit, but really great guy. And like I remember doing the coin toss, and I was like, "You're James O'Neill, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, hey man, nice to meet you. I think it's Ryan, right?" And this was before the game and everything, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like we had a great game, and then after, I went to their locker room to just see one of my friends who I hadn't seen in like 2 or 3 years, and James came out and started having like a conversation with us. Only in rugby, you know, you'll get people who are friends doing that in football, like your best friend who plays at a different school, or hockey, same thing. But James is a guy who I had never met personally. I've just heard of him. And maybe we played against each other when we were kids. But that would be it. And then for him to come out and talk with me and a guy who like grew up with Sean and played with Sean and me when we were younger and joined into our conversation, that was what rugby's all about for me. Like it's that level of respect that's just, you know, one game. You can earn it through one game, one play, anything like that. Like it just speaks volumes to this sport. And again, like for a lot of the guys who are like teetering on the fence, like, oh, how am I going to make it back into rugby, blah, blah, blah. Like it's that whole just going out and doing it thing.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference, because that's how you earn that respect and get those opportunities.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't, and this is like kind of off from where we were, but like, when we did our kangaroo court, when I was going between my 3rd and 4th year, I will not explain the details of what kangaroo court is, but me and Mitch, like Mitch Rudy, were on the balcony, and I'd been around the team enough so I knew how everything worked. And like to be nominated for a position in the executive, somebody has to nominate you and somebody has to second that nomination. And then you leave the room and everybody else discusses what happens in that room and their viewpoints on you for that position. It's a private conversation. What's told in that meeting shouldn't be public, you know, like if somebody doesn't vote for you, that shouldn't go against them because it's their personal opinion in that time, right? So, but I remember Mitch coming up to me and saying, "Do you even want to be captain?" Never occurred to me, never thought about it. And I looked at him and I said, "What the fuck did you just say?" And he was like, "You were going to be my nomination for captain to follow up from me. And I need to know, do you even want it or not? Because if you don't, I don't want to waste a nomination on you." And that was like that was the first time I'd ever thought about it. I'd never even considered it. Because rugby had always been at UFC like a big thing for me. Like there's always funny moments you look back on. I won Rookie of the Year my first year, and I broke the trophy.
Smooth.
Yeah. I blame Andy for it. He blames me. But Dean ultimately blames me, so I get blamed.
There
Uh,
it is.
I straight up dropped the trophy. Like we were shaking hands and we dropped it.
How would that be Andy's fault?
He was handing it to me, so I blame him.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But like it's those little things, right? Like I'd never thought that like, yeah, I know.
But it,
I never thought like, that happened and that was such a big pivotal moment. Because that kind of established the rest of my career was it looks like I can do something for this team. And then you go through the motions. And then the final year, like my last year, winning 2 awards, winning the Brian and Joa Trophy, which is like one of the biggest awards that you can win at our team, because it basically means that like you embody the best representation of us, of what we want, because that's what Brian did.
yeah.
And then winning the Stags Award, which was like, people would scratch and claw for that.
Yeah.
And that was like the coolest thing ever, was actually having my name on that trophy and stuff like that. But it's like all of that led me to want to be a part of it. And that's what led me to tell Mitch, like, yeah, put me up. Let's do it. I have no idea what was said in that room. I don't want to know what was said in that room. All I know is when I came in, my name was announced and it was, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is like, you're taking the reins. This is your team now. And that was how we created this and what we have now, which is like a dominant force, which is what we wanted, right?
Okay, I'll give you one final question before we sign off. What advice would you give rookies going into this season?
Fuck. Going into this season is going to be tricky, right? Because like you're probably not gonna have like the normal experience that I had or that I had in any year, right? Like when I look back on it, like some of those biggest things were rookie practice, which I didn't even go to, and just like making friends. A lot of the people that I met were through rugby. A lot of the guys that I've like maintained friendships with and maintained conversations with are through rugby. And it's ballsy. It's really hard to do, but putting yourself out there and staying humble are the 2 things that if a rookie does that, they'll fit right in. Because don't go in thinking you're hot shit. Don't go in guns a-blazing. You're just going to piss people off. Just be genuine. Like I'm a member of like our alumni committee now, and I've had the chance to like interact with a couple rookies here and there. And I'd like to think that like, they can like chirp me a little and I can chirp them and we can chirp Ray or whoever. And like, they feel comfortable. And that speaks a lot to Josh because that means he made them feel comfortable in this online weird world where they maybe met some of the guys during practice in the first half of the season, but there was cohorts and there was all of this weird kind of, you can't interact with each other stuff going on. Right. So taking the opportunities that they're given is going to be huge. If there's a rookie practice, whether it's cohorts or whether it's just playing touch, go for it. And meet the older guys. Like I can personally say that none of them are scary because
And that's the funny thing. I find a lot of rookies when they come onto a team, they're so standoffish because, the older guys either look bigger or they, act differently. But on this team, it's actually weird. I haven't run into any ego. And if there was an ego that I ran into, it was squashed within probably a practice or 2.
Yeah. Like it was, what was his name? Jared? Right? Remember Jared?
My brain's all muddled up now. It's even nuts.
Wasn't it Jared? Really small guy?
Like this year?
Yeah. Like what during my year?
Oh, long last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jared. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his last name now.
Oh, Assenheim?
Yes. Yeah. I remember like he was kind of that perfect, like, shy,
Yeah.
first playing rugby, um, that kind of stuff. Me and Sean and Matt, I had the power. I got to make all the rooms. Ray just gave me little guidelines. Um, Obviously, I got to pick my own room, so I picked me, Sean, and Matt. And I remember getting together with Sean and Matt, like texting them, rookie do we want? Who do we want to put in our room? Because we were going to take a rookie, obviously. And I was like, we're not going to take like a rookie who is already established and who has an ego. Like, let's take someone else. We took Jared. And that was the most fun thing ever. Like, it was awesome. Because we got to know a guy who was really shy and didn't really like to talk to all of us. But we wanted to show him what all of it was about.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, we're on a road trip. There's not 4 beds, there's 2 beds. Right? Like,
Yep.
so you're sharing a bed, you're sharing a shower, like all this stuff, like to get thrown into, it's really overwhelming. And then he got paired with us.
Yeah.
So that just added to his overwhelmingness. But he took it like a champ. He took it on the chin. And like that was a big thing. Like that really earned my respect, because that he could have been shy and not talk to us at all. But like, he talked to us, he came out for food with us, he did everything with us. And that was one of the big things, is like he took the chances and the opportunities that were given to him. Right? Like, as a rookie, that's huge. Like, going into this year, if they have like some kind of Alberta league or Calgary school league where it's like just us and MRU and whatever, like if they can figure something out, it's going to be big for these guys to just take all the chances, because they're limited. And this time is going to go fast.
Yeah.
Like, I look back on it now, and I started 5 years ago. That was my rookie season, was 5 years ago. And like, a lot has happened in 5 years, but
A lot's happened in 1 year, dude.
like, all the guys that I've met throughout the years, like, there's been chances to go on tours. Like, I've been to Montana and played rugby. I've been to Thailand and played rugby. I've played in BC. I've played in Alberta. I've played in Saskatchewan. Like, I've done all this stuff that I never would have gotten the chance to do if I didn't just take the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the biggest thing for these guys, is like, connect with the guys around you and take the chance. Like, just go for it. If you want to play prop, play prop. If you want to play flank, tell Ray you want to play flank and show him that you'll work your ass off. Because I can tell you right now, the captain that you're going into the season with, that's exactly what he did.
Yep.
He said, I want to play 10. And he worked his ass off to get where he is. I have a lot of respect for that. And like, Josh has done a lot, and I got a lot of confidence that he'll be able to carry forward exactly what I tried to start.
Yeah. It's we'll kill it there, because we could literally do this all day. I know we could. Yeah, it's really cool to see, well, to hear how the team has started and like has progressed in the 5 years you were there, and the 1 year that I've seen now, my second year with you guys. And it's really cool to watch that. But that's a story for another time. We'll kill it there, and just stick around for a second, Littlewood. I'll just sign us off, and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, guys, that's it. That's Ryan Littlewood from former cap of the Dinos Rugby. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
Guys. Hope you enjoyed it.